Great. Hi, everyone. I'm going to share my screen right now so we can. Oh, Armenia, it says host disabled participant screen sharing. Can I become a host? Oh, I got it. Cool. Great. Cool. Let's dive in. So yeah, at the Arts and Culture Department, we provide leadership buy-in for the city to support arts and cultural affairs and recommend policies and programs that develop and promote artistic excellence in our community, which I'm sure you all know and are deeply familiar with. So yes, coronavirus has changed our way of life and the way we do things and the way we gather. And we're looking to pivot and rethink how we can make meaningful artistic experiences happen in this sort of reality of distance and virtual communication. So the Digital Collaboration Impact Grant challenges organizations to collaborate and create new visions using digital programming or creating new ways of presentation through traditional media. Our view is that this will allow a more diverse range of groups the ability to create opportunities for themselves and a wider online community. And we found this to be true. A lot of the virtual programming from last cycle has been accessed from way outside of Santa Fe and the state of New Mexico. So we're really excited to continue funding this sort of programming. And then I believe in the past year, we released this Culture Connects sort of philosophy, which to just reread real quick. Culture embodies the shared complex and diverse heritage of a community, including its tangible and intangible virtues. It is the quiet and restless imagination that becomes expression, from which emanates writing, song, performance, painting, sculpture, cuisine, dance, design, and story. When recognized, coalesced, and leveraged, culture is transformative. It ignites creativity, consciousness, and capacity. And that is why we do what we do. So eligible organizations for this grant must play a role in promoting tourism and applying some of the funding towards promoting the programming that you are applying with. And the contract will start at the end of September when we're hoping to announce the grantee winners, and the programs can go until June 30th, 2022, because that's the end of our fiscal year. The projects or content for the DCI grant should be developed with the intent to activate cultural institutions in the digital realm through the promotion of their programming and venues while incorporating Santa Fe's non-traditional private, public, and purpose-built spaces, leveraging open spaces and empty buildings, landmarks, arterials, and corridors. This is an opportunity for collaborating partners to showcase their artists' talents and other artistic and cultural forms of expression in new and exciting ways. Because even though we can't gather in person and maybe be around a stage, there's all these new creative ways to sort of make something meaningful and share it, and something that we haven't seen before. And of course, all creation of content must take into consideration COVID safe practices in its development, which is changing every day. Eligible expenses for the DCI grant include artist fees, production costs, such as, a videographer, an editor, technology that you would need to sort of share your digital content. And the professional development it would take to teach your personnel who might not be well versed in that realm how to do that. Media and marketing, consultant fees, costs associated with digital media, and costs affiliated with creating the programming. Ineligible expenses include permanent staff salaries, scholarships, fellowships, those sorts of combination educational work learning. Subscription series, of course, projects that are affiliated with an academic degree program, awards, debt reduction, meals, lodging, or transportation. capital expenses, fundraising, and insurance costs. And this is all because of the lodger's tax, which we are under. They made these rules, and it is essential that we follow them. For an organization to be eligible for the DCI grant, they must be based in nonprofit arts activities. And two organizations, because you apply with another one, must meet the Santa Fe Arts and Culture Department's eligibility guidelines, be based in Santa Fe and have a incorporation certificate and City of Santa Fe business registration number. It must be, the project must take place, or the organization must be in the northern part of Santa Fe County. And one eligible member of the two orgs must serve as the contracting entity for the project. And that organization will be required to enter into a City of Santa Fe professional services agreement and become legally responsible for completing the project and submitting all those reports that we will need by June 2022. So two organizations applying together count as like one partnership, and it is one, an organization cannot hop on to multiple applications. They can only apply with one other organization together, if that makes sense. And organizations, I know that this has been sort of a source of confusion, but organizations are eligible for funding in either the TMI grant or the DCI grant. The only way around that is in applying for the DCI grant, to be the secondary institution and not the primary applicant. So if your organization was awarded the TMI grant, you can in fact apply, you just cannot be the lead applicant. And please let me know if there are questions about that. City of Santa Fe operated programs are not eligible. And cultural organizations that do not meet like the 501c3 requirements or don't partner with one are not eligible. Collaboration must be between at least two arts and culture nonprofits, and organizations that do not apply, or sorry, Armenia, I see that you're here. Do you have something to add on?
No, I've just turned my screen back on. I'm sorry.
Oh no, you're great.
And I can jump through. I can jump in on anything if anyone has any questions about the TMI, DCI, kind of that dual funding. So if anybody has questions, please ask, because I know it might seem a little confusing.
Yeah, if you're an arts nonprofit and you're applying with one other organization, and you are good to go. Great.
Can I just ask a clarifying question, you guys?
Absolutely.
So for both the DCI and the TMI, you do need a collaborator, correct?
For TMI, no, that is an individual grant. That one is closed and the awardees already have been notified. So if your organization was part of that award notification, can still apply for DCI, just like Zoe said, just as long as your organization is not the lead. And one thing I want to mention on that is, as well as not just being the lead, the other organization that you are working with cannot also just be a pass-through entity for funding. They have to actually be engaged and working collaboratively on the project. So that's something important to know, that yes, you can receive both. You cannot be the lead, but they also have to be, both organizations have to be involved in the project through and through, not just fiscal agent funding.
Perfect, thank you.
Great. As far as the scope of services for the grantees, organizations should advertise, publicize, and promote Santa Fe as a cultural tourist destination, and promote the programming that you'll be putting on digitally through paper media, like advertisements, however has been most successful for your organization before. And we hope that you promote and distribute the project locally, regionally and nationally, because it is digital and possibly internationally. And hope leveraging partnering organizations, websites, social media, film festivals, online broadcasting sites, advertising competitions, so on. You're required to promote and market the city by using the city's arts and culture department logo and credit line on all online promotional material related to the project. And encourage the cultural development of Santa Fe by maintaining high standards of artistic and creative programming and excellence as we see through your programming. Another more within the scope of services, encouraging the cultural development. Oh, yes, sorry. Said that. Demonstrate administrative competency through planning, innovation, quality, programming, and realistic budgeting. You're required to provide a final report to the city, providing statistical and demographic information describing the digital platforms utilized and the impacts on local, regional, national, and international audience expansion, all before the end of June 2022. And also provide a report to the city evaluating the successes and lessons learned from the project.
One thing that I want to mention, just real quick, Zoe, about the final report is, yes, that is due at the end of the fiscal year, which would be next June 30th, 2022. Providing a final report is very important, because if we do not receive a final report, it can make you ineligible for funding for up to 3 years past that date. So that is an important thing to keep in mind, that the month of June 2022, to start looking out and providing final reports to the Arts and Culture Department through GoSmart.
Great. Please ignore this top title. It's incorrect. I mean, it is correct, but it's not DCI, which those awards are 30,000. Yeah, and as previously, we've all covered this, but have the logo on everything, and make sure you submit your final report on time. Payment is made after services are rendered, and but partial payments may be requested. Staff reviews all requests before payments are made. Final payment will be withheld until the final report is accepted by the Arts and Culture Department. As far as financial records go, separate financial records related to the funded project must be maintained by the lead organization. And these records must be kept on file during the contract period and for a minimum of 3 fiscal years after the end of the contract. And records are subject to local, state, and federal audits at any time. Lead organizations must also submit an annual IRS form 990 to maintain organizational eligibility, and there are no exceptions to this requirement. Getting into criteria, this has been slightly adjusted since last cycle. Artistic excellence will go for a total of 40 points. And projects or content should be developed with the intent to activate cultural institutions in the digital realm through the promotion of programming and venues while incorporating Santa Fe's non-traditional private, public, and purpose-built spaces. Leveraging open spaces and empty buildings, landmarks, arterials, and corridors is super important and makes for a competitive application. This is an opportunity for collaborating partners to showcase their artists' talents and other artistic and cultural forms of expression in new and exciting ways. And again, must take into consideration COVID-safe practices. We also look at the marketing impact relevance, the success and of the targeted marketing plan. This will go for 40 points. We're looking for a tangible digital distribution plan that details how you will attract a diverse constituency in cultural tourism. The plan needs to include how you will attract and grow digital presence of the Santa Fe brand and drive markets of surrounding states like Colorado, Texas, Arizona, and ideally beyond. The plan needs to present Santa Fe as a cultural destination featuring a variety of assets built, natural, historical, climate, culinary, sound, sites, etc. We want people to come here and visit, and a marketing plan that hits these marks will be more competitive. And then for 20 points is culture connects and sustainability, and how well the programming aligns with that mission of the Department of Arts and Culture. So your project should detail how you plan to maintain, nurture, and attract professional and volunteer leadership that will reflect Santa Fe's diverse community, and how it will lead the organization with a clearly stated contribution to diversity, equity, and inclusion of Santa Fe. Great. As far as evaluation goes, all responses will be reviewed for making sure you're eligible and how complete your application is. Applicants will not be allowed to submit missing or additional materials after the deadline. So you're welcome to email me in Erminia. Our emails are at the end of the slideshow, and we're here to help you get everything in on time. Because incomplete applications may not be considered eligible. All eligible responses will be forwarded to a panel consisting of city staff and community members representing specific knowledge or experience in various areas of arts, nonprofit administration, and or marketing and promotion. The panel will review applicants prior to attending a panel meeting. At this meeting, each application will be discussed based on the criteria we just went through. The scores are then averaged and ranked for funding recommendations. These recommendations are then forwarded to the appropriate bodies for approval. All awards are based on the availability of tax dollars and funding. Ranking does not guarantee funding. And I believe that we have 4 awards available.
Yes, 4 awards at $30,000 each. So that's the money that has been set forth. It's a set amount. It does not slide. It will be $30,000 in its entirety.
Thank you. So here's the schedule. The application opened on the 11th, and the proposal is due on September 8th, with the evaluation panel on the 20th, and then hoping to get all award notifications out by September 28th. The Arts and Culture Department has assigned a procurement manager who's responsible for the conduct of procuring the grant. Armenia, is Pauline the best contact for this?
Actually, sorry, I should have corrected that. That would actually be me now. And I can, at the end, you'll have my email, my phone number, which you guys should probably already have. So no worries about that, but yes, I will be the procurement manager on this with the assistance of Zoe that will be helping throughout the entirety application process.
Yeah, I wasn't great. Cool. And our contact is at the end. Great. And we're just gonna talk to GoSmart. Apparently Pauline loves llamas, so they're incorporated here. But yeah, let me move where I see faces. Hold on. Great. So applicants go to Santa Fe, New Mexico.gosmart.org as usual. You'll log in at the top right there. This will be the home page that you'll see. You will log in. Creating an account is actually super easy. So if you need to do that based on turnover or whatnot, super easy. But if not, that your prior login info will work. And then it will take you to this screen. Do you see my cursor move around? Great. It'll take you to this screen where you can then go into the current programs and application. And under that section, you'll find the DCI 2022 application. And you can either press start or you can press preview. If you press preview, a PDF will come up with all of the questions. So that's sort of useful for internal sharing or drafting, and starting will start the application. But so both of these options give you the information you need to complete it. Yes, and here's what the preview looks like. and the information you will fill out. Great. So if you start the application, you'll get this sort of checklist of all.
Did Zoe freeze? Is everyone else frozen? Oh, am I frozen? Oh. Oh no.
Pull up like your personal files from your computer, and you'll see them here. If you have any questions about that, let me know. It's probably more helpful to be helped out in the moment than getting a digital preview. And you can manage, there's a way where you can manage them all beyond the application. So you can upload them all to GoSmart and then pick from the manage work sample section which ones to attach to the application. Yes, this is more information if you're on uploading video or audio versus like a photo or a different sort of digital asset. Yeah, you can either upload it, and we also have a way if you wanted to do a sort of private YouTube link, that works for us too.
Actually, probably one of the best ways I would say to upload those work samples. It just allows more capability within your application to access those.
Yeah, and I believe it's also like a lot faster in terms of loading. So if you're in crunch time, that might be a better option. Yeah. And something that is, I believe, new to this cycle, but let me know if that's incorrect. We have a confirmation page that happens at the end of the application. So it has every section listed, and just you say yes or no whether you've completed them, and it's just a way to make sure that you have all your information in.
Just a secondary kind of checklist to make sure that you completed everything and you're not missing anything, so that your application is complete.
Yeah, because incomplete ones are ineligible, and we don't want that. So great. And now, as far as questions go, this is our contact information. You're welcome to contact either or both of us, but I think we both prefer to both be CC'd, no matter who you're.
Yeah. If everyone could just CC both of us, or, you know, of course, you can always call me out by phone, but if you are sending an email, I kindly ask that you CC both, just as that way we can answer your question efficiently, and both of us have access to that, so that both can ensure that your questions have been answered. And just to let everyone know, I know that those slides, you know, if you want to ever go back, we are going to be providing later, hopefully today, an email with the PDF version of these slides, as well as the recording that I mentioned before, so that anyone can go back if you need to access a particular slide or a particular kind of slide that we talked about today, so that you have that access to that.
Cool. I think that's the end of this presentation, so I'm going to stop screen sharing.
Does anyone have questions thus far of what was reviewed? I know it's kind of a quick overview, but anything that came to mind that you might have questions about, or anything that we did not mention today that you're wondering about? Anyone? Panelists.
So I kind of heard you guys talking earlier when I joined the room, and you were talking about what a successful application looks like. Can you talk about that a little bit more?
So successful application, or a successful program that was actually awarded and completed a project last year?
Right, a project.
project. So yes, so definitely just one that I picked out because we did have 4 last year that were awarded the DCI grant, and that one of them included was Indigenous Ways with Elena, who's joining us today. And so I can pull up really what it was, but I don't know if Elena has more in depth of what she thought about it, but they did have a virtual healing festival last year, May 8th and May 9th, and I can share that with everyone. Let me pull it up. So I pulled this up earlier. So yes, it was held last May, May 8th and May 9th. It was all virtual. It offered speakers and performers who celebrate the deep cultural wisdom that abounds in Santa Fe. Over 2 days, festival attendees participated in sacred talking and writing circles, experienced storytellers, meditation, music and art therapy. And I believe that they completely sold out. So it was very popular, all via virtual content, which is another thing we're continuing. As you know, we're still continuing virtual only because we're still not out of the pandemic yet. In fact, we're starting to go backwards on our numbers. So this is important to have kind of these, still have arts in Santa Fe and still have access to arts, but just in a more safer kind of way. And it really took off last year. This was a very popular event. And I don't know if, I know Elena's on here. I know she's kind of on 2 meetings at the same time, but if she wants to talk more about it and more of her success, their successes from last year, that would be great.
Yeah, just before I do, firstly, can you hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Well, firstly, thanks so much, Zoe, for that presentation. And also a huge thank you to Zoe and also Amelia for the extraordinary work they do with the Santa Fe Arts and Cultural Department, and also, Rod and Pauline, who aren't here, which are really an extraordinary team within themselves. And also want to welcome Cynthia and Sarah. Before I go on with this project, is there anything specific, Jen, that you want to know about what we did, or Cynthia or Sarah? Otherwise, I can bore you senselessly. So is there anything specific that I can address?
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I'm sorry. I was just on the other call that with Pauline, and I guess I kind of got directed to the wrong call. The reason I'm on the call is I'm with the Santa Fe Studio Arts Collective, and we have done just recently for the studio tour, we did a virtual tour that's going to not replace, but we did it because of the pandemic. We thought it was a good idea to be able to have something virtual in case we can't have the actual preview gallery. So we did this whole virtual tour, and we did it without any grant money and stuff. But when I was talking to Pauline before, she was saying that we have to, in order to be able to even apply to this, we have to partner with another 501c3, and that's kind of what's throwing me, because I don't know how or who we would do that with. We're doing this because we were looking at, let me back up a little bit. I'm going to go on, turn my video on. There we go. We have 2 organizations within the Santa Fe Studio Arts Collective. One is the Santa Fe Studio Tour, which we're still moving forward with right now, and it's supposed to be in person. We'll see what happens. It's we've changed the date to October we normally do it in June. But we did this virtual tour for the preview gallery to complement what was the preview gallery that we do in person every year we've been doing it at the Women's Center, the Women's Club over on Old Pecos Trail. So this time we have this really wonderful virtual studio tour where we have people can look at the, preview the art and then decide whether or not they're going to go, on the tour. But we also have another group within the Santa Fe Arts Collective called the Santa Fe Studio Experience 365. And that was a bunch of artists that were basically artists that have studios that are open year round, not just during the studio tour. So we're thinking about, we wanted to do a virtual tour like we did for the regular preview, for the regular tour, just for these studio artists that have their galleries open year round to help promote the, the tourism and stuff. But according to what Pauline was saying, we need to partner with another 501c3, which is where I'm kind of thrown. I don't know. I didn't know about that. And I don't know whether we're going to be able to do that or not. So
Yes,
I don't know
ma'am.
if you have any idea.
So the thought process behind that was we had a lot of organizations who were interested in applying for grants, receiving funding, doing projects. But really we were trying to encourage people to go digitally as well as get some mentorship kind of from other organizations. We had smaller organizations partner with larger organizations last cycle. And so that's really what we are continuing to promote and use so that smaller organizations, large organizations can receive that kind of mentorship and continue their grants applications and only get stronger as they grow.
Right.
So that's kind of the thought process behind that. Plus it is, a larger amount, and we are hoping to help spread funding a little bit more to our organizations. So this was one way that we could have them collaborate, learn from each other, get that mentorship, as well as distribute more funds to more arts and nonprofits organizations.
Okay, so we would have to find somebody to partner with to be able to, in order to do this.
Yes.
All
ma'am.
right,
Yeah.
we'll have to look
and
into
one of
that.
the wonderful things, Sarah, is we're in Santa Fe and there are hundreds of nonprofit groups in this tiny little county.
Right.
But thanks so much for that. Jen, did you have any questions before that may be specific for what we did? Okay,
I think,
Yeah.
Elena, if you could just talk more about what you guys did at the Healing Festival last cycle, and what was the successes, what was maybe something that you learned from that, that would be, I think, great for the team here to kind of hear about.
Yeah, totally. Thanks for that, Amina. I just kind of wanted to get feedback from others where they were at and where we could go from there. So thank you. Well, thanks everyone for joining in. So Indigenous Ways was very fortunate to be recipients of the DCI for last year. And we're a nonprofit that bridge cultural exchange with people globally. And part of our mission is promoting and balance for diverse communities through music, arts, and outreach and events. So predominantly what we do here at Indigenous Ways is we work with communities, usually rural, and collaborate together to create festivals and events. And so that's what we do. And so with this, so what happened when the pandemic happened, we had a whole bunch of grants to do all these festivals in Indian country, and we couldn't. So on the 1st of April, we went virtual doing 2 events, a concert series and also a wisdom circle. And that's what we did. Also, what's happened through all our events, we've always had ASL interpreters. So right from the 1st of April last year, it was working out how do we bring the ASL interpreters. So it was this massive download of learning of what we need to do. And so we found that there are a lot of tweaks in that period of time. We've been very fortunate to support over 120 presenters and artists, predominantly Native American, Indigenous, LGBTQIA, and also deaf and hard of hearing presenters. That is our demographics. That's the people that we serve. So when we saw this digital opportunity come up, it was like, well, what more can we do? And for us, it's really all our projects have been working with the community. And so even our platform of the Indigenous Ways virtual events, we tweaked that because of the audience's feedback and us working with everyone. And so we realized, like, what can we do? And it was looking at, why don't we put on a virtual event? And so we did, called the Indigenous Healing Festival. And the whole premise for that is being in COVID and isolated, how do we look beyond that using the arts and also using the skill sets that we did? So, and then addressing you, Sarah, because of the way that we work, we've always had collaborations, not only with educational institutions, but other nonprofits. So with this project, we collaborated with Te Awa Women United, amazing Native organization in Espanola, as well as the Indian School, as well as IAIA, to put on this amazing festival. We wanted we wanted a pool. And what we also found from doing this for the last over a year, that our virtual events, I mean, this was the great thing for us, it had grown internationally. So what we wanted, and also because of our connections too, so we wanted two headliners. One was Buffy St. Marie, the other one was Keith Sokola. And then all of our presenters were based around the Santa Fe, northern New Mexico. Those were all our presenters, as Amelia showed you on the pop-up thing. Our theme, and that was collaborating with our committee, was survivance. Survivance is a term not only as Indigenous peoples of our own history, but also looking at the survivance of the last year and a half. And our theme throughout all of this was, how do we connect community? So as Mina was saying, this was totally sold out. It was during Mother's Day weekend. And it was very successful from 11 to 5 o'clock both days. We had a huge amount of people from Europe that had come in. And what we found when we finished the festival on both days, we had over 70 people that just didn't want to leave. So it was about that whole connection of the messages shared by the presenters, that people wanted more. But this would not have been possible without the Santa Fe Arts and Cultural Department and the funding that we got through them, which was really significant of what we could do. But our whole thing throughout this is, how do we keep our beloved communities connected, especially when they've got low to no bandwidth. And so on our website, indigenousways.org, there's all the archives of all the presenters that we've had during this time. And one of the great things with this grant for us was the marketing aspect. So we brought in a marketing expert, and I learned a lot from that person. We also had a lot of sponsors involved with this project. So one of the things I particularly like about this project is it's collaborative. Like, I mean, there's so many nonprofits here, and probably one of the highest in a lot of places. But how do we do this together? Not only as the community, but also as organizations. And so that's one of the things that I've appreciated. And again, I'll give another plug. Amelia, Zoe, the whole team, Pauline, Rod, they are so versatile and so approachable. And, you know, they want everyone to get this, so utilize them. And also I'll put, if there is a chat box, or maybe Amelia, you toss it out, my contact information. So if you want to contact me with any questions or anything like that, or go to indigenousways.org, you can contact me there. But this is what this is about. How do we do this together? And that's what's so fantastic about the arts. It's about a collaborative thing. It's within our indigeneity of tribal thing of doing stuff together. We've had COVID, and then utilizing the arts and whatever mediums that you do of bringing together community. The other plug I want to give that I've been really pleased to see, and it was one of the projects that DCI did. When you look throughout the community, you'll see these huge banners of, I'm not too sure who it was, Amelia, but it just makes my heart burst every time I see it, because it was looking at youth art, and then they put all the art of what they did, these particular organizations did, and sharing it with the community. And that's what we're about. That's what this grant is about. That's what the arts and culture department is all about, that I love and really appreciate them. That's it.
It was just, yeah, thank you so much, Elena, because that was great. That's exactly what it is it's just trying to pivot from that in-person, that's, really all that we, not all, but it's a lot of what we did in arts it was gathering and having live events and having live in-person events. And since that was not able to happen, we were trying to learn how to pivot into a more virtual world so that people could still have access to those arts and performances and all of those things that they enjoyed, but really we couldn't be in person. And we're still kind of there. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. Our numbers are still not going down. In fact, they're going back up again. And so we want to continue having that access to the arts, but allowing those who don't want to come out of their home or need to be home or have health conditions that they can't be in large group settings or any of that, and just have still that digital access to the arts. And also we're very used to having those in-person events and those live performances in person. And this is a new way of technology to learn about those different digital realms and how to learn and access and provide digital content. So that was another thing to just help people learn ways to provide digital content that maybe wasn't done before. So it is a partnership collaboration, but it's also encouraging, can you find another organization that may be interested that could provide some help or provide some input or provide some kind of thing to your project that you could either take them under your wing and teach them about the grants application process and being involved in a grant, or, is there a larger organization that you want to partner with that maybe you could use some mentorship on, or you guys can learn from each other. It's really, really what it was in the beginning when we were trying to totally change our grants programs and try to work with the funding that we had been cut. And how did we do that? And this was one way that Arts and Culture thought would be helpful.
Okay.
Yes, Cynthia. Good to see you, by the way. Oh, you're on mute. Let me see.
There we go. Nice to see everyone. Sorry I was a little late. I have a question. By the way, your comments in terms of creating a higher degree of access is good, whether we're in a COVID situation or non-COVID situation. So I get it. And we're trying to figure all of that out as well. One of the questions I have is, and maybe you covered this, I'm sorry I was late. We do a lot of partnership with public schools, which are not 501c3s, but they are not for profit. Are they considered part of a collaboration?
I believe, and Zoe, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe they have to be 501c3s. That I believe they do, yeah.
Well, and I guess I would just say that part of the artistic path starts with our children, and public schools really need that kind of support. So I would just put in there that that's a question, and is there flexibility in that? Because they are, again, a not-for-profit. They're not a 501c3, but they're such a big part of the art platform in Santa Fe in terms of starting with our youngest members and getting them on that path for art.
That's something definitely I can bring up with, Pauline and Rod. And if and I can go back to the RFP and just really dig into that language there and make
Okay.
sure. If
Okay.
it is a 501c3 requirement, that is something maybe on the next cycle we could take in, we can consider that maybe that language be changed in the RFP. But I will dig down deep into that language today and get you a final answer on that, on if there's any kind of
Flexibility there.
language and flexibility, yeah.
And I get the point of not-for-profit, but, you know, part of, I know the mayor's platform has been, how do we work together with the schools? And this basically leaves the schools out completely.
That's a good point, and I'm glad you brought that up, because
So that would be the piece. I think there's an interesting question I have as a, and Sarah, I think you might have brought it up a little bit, is that when we give out when you all give out a grant, and you bring a collaboration in, collaboration costs money. And it costs money for the organization who's driving it, and it has to be distributed to the other nonprofits. So I guess, what are you looking for, or are you, in terms of how that distribution happens? And maybe Elena, you can share your experience of how does that money get distributed across all the collaboration?
I think that would be more probably for Elena, just because yes, we would like you to collaborate, but no, we don't give you any guidelines on, you can distribute that funding as you guys see fit. So I don't think we had any real questions about that. That was up to each lead organization on how that was going to work. But Elena might have some insight on how they worked that through.
Yeah, great question, Cynthia, and thanks for that. Basically, Indigenous Ways was the main contender with this, and so and because it was a grant under our organization, that's where it got divvied. And basically what we did with each of the organizations, they brought in all their presenters. So we had youth from IAIA in India and Santa Fe, and also amazing presenters from Te Awa Women United about what this was. And also in our strategy, we worked it all out together of what that would be. Everyone was happy with that, and that's how the distributions went.
Okay, so I'm going to ask a really specific question. One, how much was your grant? And then second, as for example, Te Awa Women, did you give them part of that grant?
Yeah, so this grant, which was the same as, it's the same grant, was 30,000.
30,000.
And so how it got divvied out, and of that grant, 51% has to go towards marketing, or the slide. Oh, you weren't here, Cynthia, but there's a slide that it says this is specific how the money will be spent, which is 51%. So as example, Zoe will be able to tell you in the marketing, because it's from the Santa Fe taxpayers. And
the largest tax fund.
It's also because it's digital, you've got new rounds. They're looking at us, nonprofits, organizations, being able to really push the bucket and have this wonderful time to explore. So half of that money, 51% of that money is taken in the marketing, and also the expenses of the back end of getting it virtual or digital. And then however you divvy out the rest, whether that be through marketing, a lot of our expenses went with the presenters and also with our ASL interpreters that we utilize. Also, part of that marketing fund that we used was with the subscriptions that we needed to go virtual. But what's really great with the cut and paste of what the city has done, or more so the arts and culture department, the layout of their grant is very, very clear and very specific how they want the money spent. And then, you know, collaboratively, you can decide the rest of what needs to go in then. I hope that helps.
Yeah,
So,
and
so the collaborators got money through the speakers they brought from the grant.
Correct. And also too, you know, we're nonprofits. There's a lot of volunteer. So all of our committees that we did, it was all of our own time and planning
Sure.
to implement this. So that was all in-kind donations from the organizations.
Okay,
and Cynthia,
that was very helpful.
there is the like Alana mentioned, there's the eligible expenses slide that will be sent to you. It's also included in the RFP, and then of course the ineligible expenses. And yes, it does follow that lodger's tax kind of language, because 51% does have to be used towards marketing. So there is that list in there of eligible and ineligible expenses.
Thank you. Sorry
No,
for the
and we'll be
redundancy.
and I know you weren't here in the beginning, Cynthia, so I want to mention we did go ahead and record this session today, so that people who had expressed interest that they wanted to join but had a conflict in time can still access the virtual recording and get to hear everyone's answers, or you know, view the slides as we presented them. So that will be going out hopefully by the end of today, a YouTube link with an email just getting sent out to everyone, and including a digital a version of the PDF presentation that was presented today.
Thank you.
Can I add my email address, because I don't think you have it, to the question and answer, so I can make sure I get a copy of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, I'll put it into the question and answers. Or how do I,
Perfect.
well, it's not letting me,
Let me
how do
see.
is there a chat? Because I don't see the chat thing that I usually
Do
have.
you have a Q&A button?
Yeah, but I
Next, raise hand. Yeah, I think that should work.
open.
I'm sorry, I had to take off the chat function because I also use this account for our Arts Commission meetings, and we can't have a chat function.
For
So
some reason,
that's,
it won't let me enter anything into the question and answer. There's no open questions. The host and panelists can see the question.
Sarah, why don't you send me an email and then I will get your email
Okay.
from there. And
All
my
right.
email is emtapia@santafenm.gov. Yeah, EM is in Mary.
emtapia@.
santafenm.gov. And then Zoe's, if you want to, if you guys would include Zoe and I on any email questions, CC her as well, so that way we can answer guys' questions timely and get you those answers right away.
I have
And
it.
her email
Okay,
is zlesser15@gmail.com.
okay.
And then of course you can always ask me questions by phone. You guys, I have my phone number. It's the city, phone number, but it is forwarded to my cell phone, as sometimes I still am working from home, depending on my little tiny monsters and how they're doing. But so you can call me by phone or you can email both of us. Any way that you want to ask questions is totally fine. There is, it is an RFP, but it is, or I'm sorry, not an RFP. It is a ITB, I think is actually what they changed it to. So it doesn't follow that specific procurement process that it has followed in the past. So questions can be answered in any way by call or by email, and they will not be posted on the website. So that is a little bit different this year. It is not an RFP. And I'm sorry that I mentioned that earlier. I said I'd refer back to the RFP, but it is not an RFP.
Okay.
It's a very new thing to us. We've
Yes.
found out like a week ago.
Yeah, we were ready to roll with the RFP language and application and everything, and then they said no. So okay, we're going a different route. Also to mention, because this is $30,000 awards, it does differentiate from the TMI cycle that just the applications that just closed out. Because it's over that $20,000 threshold, it will be a contract, just as in the previous years. So there will be a contract attached to this one. So we will, once your organization has applied, if you do receive funding, we'll get that contract out for signatures. And there will be those documents to attach, such as your certificate of insurance, which I believe is a $1 million insurance. And then also your business license and all of those things that go along with it. So this one does differentiate from the 10,000 TMI grant. It will be a contract.
Do you have to have a business license? And if you're a
Yes, ma'am.
nonprofit? Okay, because I don't know that we're set up that. I'm not the one who normally deals with this, so I don't know all the details. So I'll look into that.
And if you have any questions about your business license or renewing your business license, you can email me that as well. And I will work with Celeste Valentine, who I'm sure you guys know very well from the city. And she is helping out with business licensing.
Okay.
And was there any other questions? If you don't think of anything right now, of course, like I said, you can always call us. Don't have to, you know, come up with everything right now if you don't have something on your mind. But it's up to you guys. We can, like I said, I'll provide this video later, hopefully today, YouTube link. And then the application is open until September 8th at 5 p.m. Anything else? Well, I want to thank you guys so much for joining in today, and thank you for all of your questions. I will follow up with you, Cynthia, on that's school's question. Oh, ignore the puppy in the background. And I'll get you those answers, and then, like I said, we'll stay in touch.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
You all.
Thank you.